Right. So they gather information, they hack people, and then they use that information to produce more targets and to produce general intelligence. I assume that they're looking for lots of things like, what the Israeli defense establishment is up to, what they can attack, what they can
Exactly.
disrupt. So it sounds like a cyclical process here.
Exactly, and more than that, we even heard several weeks ago the attack on public figures and the officials like Bennett and Braverman, right?
Right.
Yeah, they like cyber groups linked to Iran allegedly attack their mobile phones and succeed to leak information of their contacts and of course more documents inside their phone, etc., etc. So
Shay Nachum, CEO and founder of the site Cyber Company. It is great to have you on the podcast. How are you this morning?
Thank you. I'm very good. Very excited to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Likewise, I'm also excited because I think the cyber world is one of the most interesting and critical fields of our times. And I think that there's nobody who's more qualified than you to talk our viewers through this world. So, when people hear about cyber defense, cyber attack, I think they imagine many things, but they don't necessarily know what lies behind these definitions. Can you talk us a little bit through the basics? When we say cyber defense, cyber attack, when we read every day in the headlines that a company has been attacked, that a country is doing the attacking. What are we actually talking about? What are the kinds of cyber threats that are out there that are the most relevant at this time going forward?
Cyber, it's a big word and it's a big field with a lot of subfields and sections. And when we are talking about cyber in a nutshell, we are talking about the warfare, the digital warfare that we are facing, and this is the most quiet war that we know, and with that, of course, the most active battlefield in the world when it runs through most of it private companies.
Right. So when you say it's the most quiet and yet it's the most active, which is one of the reasons why it's so deceptive, it looks to me like an arms race. It looks like, just like, the world that I'm pretty familiar with, which is the military conventional arms race, where different sides develop capabilities to attack and defend, and they're always studying each other and trying to get ahead. Would you agree that there is an arms race going on in the cyber world right now between both state and non-state actors? And if so, what are the patterns? What are the things that we need to be looking out for at the beginning of 2026?
Yeah, so of course there is a great warfare. I call it like the World War C, World of Cyber. And there is a very quiet war that every nation and, of course, financial groups that are, of course, running. And cyber, when we talk about cyber, there is three security principles that we are talking about. It's called the CIA, the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability. Confidentiality is that the information will be kept in secret. Integrity is that the information is not altered, and availability, that the system can keep working. And every cyber attack tries to breach those pillars. This is the most basic terms in cyber field, and every cyber attack will try to modify the information, leak it, and of course even devastate the entire organization.
So when you talk about those three pillars that every cyber attack compromises, that's very interesting. And you mentioned leaking information as one form of attack. So is that the easiest kind of attack that there is, to try and break in and steal information? And what's the next step up? What would be the next escalation from that point onwards?
Yeah, so we see a lot of cyber attacks, different types of cyber attacks. The most common one is the ransomware. The ransomware is when you encrypt the files and then demand the ransom from the victim. And we see over there that the attackers are using different types of levers in order to manipulate and put more pressure on the victims. So the first thing, of course, is the fact that they encrypted the most of the files, and then now the victim need the key in order to decrypt it. The second thing that we saw, of course, it's the information leakage. This is one of the most devastating levers that they use.
Yep.
It puts a lot of pressure because they publish it on the dark web. And of course, even the next level of it, it's talking with their clients and talking with their vendors in order to say that, to declare they already compromised this client and this victim,
Wow.
and then to try to manipulate even their clients.
Is that for financial gain? Is this to make money, or what's the
Of course,
motivation?
it's the motivation is to, of course, to gain money, financial motivation that ransomware groups are using.
Mm-hmm.
They have different kinds of levers like this. Of course, the most recent new lever that we found is that they use the AI training of AI models in order to remove like proprietary information and proprietary system from their owners. And, ransomware and the ransom group, especially states sponsored, are always looking for new techniques and new methods in order to achieve their objectives.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the financial motivation one are trying all the time to gain money, to put more pressure in order for the victim to pay the ransomware.
Right.
And we are talking about like tremendous amounts of money.
Right.
It can be like 10% of the income of the company.
Wow.
It's a lot of money. And then from this peak, you need to start a negotiation in order to protect yourself, protect your clients, and protect your information.
Right. And then I would imagine that they're negotiating with the sensation of having basically their throats in a chokehold. It sounds like a very bad starting point for negotiations. And that actually brings me to an article that I read that features you in Haaretz that was published, I think, last month. And they were talking about what sounds like just this kind of scenario where a gas and energy company finds itself under attack. Was this a ransomware attack?
Yeah, exactly.
And they reached out to you, and somehow you were able to inject code. And I think this is not a company that you were working with before, right? They reached out to you in the middle of their emergency.
Yeah, a new client.
And in no time, you were able to stop this attack. How were you able to stop an attack for a company that you hadn't even worked with before, hadn't connected to their servers? How did you do this so quickly?
Yeah, so this is a very fascinating case that we handled. When a ransomware or even a cyber attack breach the company, so all the employees and executive, they lose their confidence. And and this is the lowest starting point of the company, and now they need to start the case and the incident from this point. So yeah, we had a call at 5 a.m. They called us and said, there is a ransomware right now ongoing in our system. We can see the machine being encrypted, and we need your help right now. Okay, so I told them, can you give us access, like a remote access, a VPN access?
Mm-hmm.
And the senior executive told me, no, it will take too much time. It can take more than an hour for the IT to configure all the VPN and etc. So I told him, okay, no VPN, maybe a remote desktop application, remote app. He told me, no, this also will take too much time because we have this restriction and etc. etc. And in this very, very tensive moment when we were on the phone, I thought about the Teams, which application they have for meetings.
Okay.
So when I asked them, do you have any Teams or a Zoom that we can connect to? And they say, yeah, we have Teams. I said, excellent. In your Teams, there is a feature of remote access. You need to give me this feature in order for me to access your systems and your environment. Yeah. So we use this feature, of course, in order to, access their environment with like the weakest user they gave us, like it's a regular user or employee, we succeed to stop the spreading of this ransomware. Like the attacker always try to, spread and control the entire network.
Yep.
And in this exact moment, when we start to investigate it using the Teams meetings, we understand that he's using a shared, it's called the sysvol. It's a network shared directory that they can use in order to spread, because they need access to this directory from the entire network, from the entire computers and servers.
Right.
And they use this functionality in order to spread. So what we did with this regular user, we copied the code, our code from our product to this Teams chat and execute this code. It was in PowerShell. We execute it and let the regular user, of course, run it. And what this special code does, it's disrupting this spreading of the attack. Like the ransomware doesn't know which file is supposed to receive.
Right.
Okay. Which computer needs to pull
Right.
this file and then execute it. So our code just changed and renamed specific file names in those shared network
incredible.
Directory. Yeah.
Wow.
In runtime. Yeah. And in this time, the ransomware just, it wasn't ready for this disruption. And of course, we did it for several minutes till the spreading stopped. And then, of course, we brought our special incident response team, boots on the ground. You need, after this kind of attack, after you stop and disrupt the ransomware, you need to look for three main principles.
Okay.
The first one is you need to understand what was the attack vector. Which computer or server was the patient zero, the first machine that was infected.
Is that the weakest chain in the link?
Exactly.
Right.
What was the weakest chain in the link that allowed and enabled the attacker to get in? And second thing is that you need to understand if there was information leakage.
Right.
And if yes, how much? It can be tera. It can be petabytes of data.
Right.
And the third thing, of course, is to understand and identify if the attacker left any persistence techniques inside the network. Because, after they get in, they love to stay. And of course, they love to stay under the radar. So they use and utilize a lot of persistent techniques. It can be task scheduler, it can be services, it can be a lot of Windows functionalities or any other operating system in order to stay in the network even after a reboot. Even after when you turn off your computer, it will boot up again with your entire OS. And if you have like a shutdown of your electricity, it will when you turn it up, of course, it will come back. And this is some of the advanced technique that they use in order to stay. We must find them all, remove them, and make sure the network is clean again. And even more importantly, is trusted again. That the employees, the executives, and of course the entire company can trust again their systems and their network.
I mean, this is a really remarkable account because it's so firsthand, and the way you break it down, I think, is very clear. Especially the part about the persistent threat, the fact that even after you neutralize it, you have to be able to scan the entire network to make sure there are no threats left. And I mean, this raises so many additional questions. But let me start with, what about going on the attack? Is that an option for the client or a country? Once you absorbed, finding out who did it, reporting them. Let's start from the civilian, perspective. But what can a civilian do to go after the ones who went after him?
Yeah. So of course they have They have some option. Of course, it takes a lot of time, usually it takes a lot of time to stop the attack and, of course, recover. Usually, in the defense field, you have like 4 main activities that you need to do. First of all, it's identify, then prevent, and then response and recover. And those activities like first identify what happened,
right,
and then prevent it, block it, and then response to it very, very quickly and recover if there is some encrypted systems or information, you need to recover it. And of course, after you finish these types of activities, you can, of course, in the meanwhile, like call the INCD,
which is the
Israeli Israel National Cyber Director,
right,
in Israel, of course.
Yeah.
You can call them, of course, and say, listen, I had a cybersecurity breach inside my network. Can you help me? They ask for the indicators.
Yep.
Every attack has its indicators of compromise, exactly which IP addresses were connected to you from the attacker, and exactly which domain you were communicated with, of the CNC of the attackers, like the command and control server that the attacker can control each and every victim computer. And of course, they ask you a lot of types of indicators, the hash of the file, the ransomware and name, et cetera. And then, of course, you want to find out who is it, like who did it. So a lot of time you use it's called an attribution. You need to do a really good attribution in order to understand what exactly attacked you.
Right.
If maybe it was a state-sponsored attack, maybe it was a financial motivational attack. So you need to understand exactly what happened. And a lot of clients say, okay, now I recover, I know exactly what happened and who was it. Now I want to attack back. I want to hack back. It's called
That's why I was
back.
asking. I would imagine that they would have that feeling.
Yeah. I want to hack back. So
right.
First of all, it's important to say that not only in Israel, but also in the United States and in Europe, it's illegal to hack back, counterattack.
Right.
It has a lot of terms. It's illegal, but we are at site. We had a lot of research about this kind of activity. So we have we develop new techniques, legal techniques that you can use in order to kind of hack back legally. And
wow.
Of course, we wrote about it. There is research papers and articles that we wrote. For example, detection in the dark. It's a technique that we inject, of course, legally to our machines, like a lot of information and scripts.
Right.
Scripts that tell us these scripts communicate with our server, and when an attacker drink and pull this information to its attack and offense array, these scripts execute in its web application and tell us that he did what he did, that he attacked the company, and we can identify it via
so you have real-time surveillance, basically, and the ability to track in real time the attacker's activities. And then what happens next? Let's say that you reach that situation and they attack. Does that give you a major advantage in defense?
Of course. It's a major advance in defense because the attackers are not used to it. They are not prepared at all.
Right.
When you do something so innovative and out of the box, they are not prepared. And of course, in almost 100% of the time, you succeed to identify them before they thought they could be identified and stop the attack even before the wild nose that they do.
Right.
The wild nose can be as we mentioned, encryption. It can be leaking information, publish it in the dark web or in the internet.
Yep.
So, of course, this kind of leverage that we did, it left them very, very surprised, and we can stop the attack even before it begins. This is one type of technique that we use, and even in another paper that we published, it's called the iron cards,
Okay.
We showed on a specific campaign of stolen credit cards that even attacked some of my friends, that even after an attacker stole the credit cards and even stole you money and etc., we succeeded to collapse their entire infrastructure with only legal activities. What we did is very, very simple. We we browse their infrastructure. They are asking, like they copy and emulate like a regular vendor. It can be UPS, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And they ask from you, hey, you received the package, please insert your credit card and let us do the rest.
Like a phishing attack?
Like a phishing attack, but specifically for credit cards.
Right.
And what we did is browsing this web application, and we insert to this application, we insert like very legal credit cards. But these legal credit cards can be used for clearance. Okay? So we put this information to its infrastructure, and it tried every time to charge these credit cards. But if this charging doesn't work, so it costs him money. And if we do it a lot of times, it can cost him a lot of money. So this is what we did. We gave him a lot of credit cards, and two major things happened. First of all, he lost a lot of money, and the second thing that happened is that their entire infrastructure collapsed because there was too many credit cards that we pushed, and he didn't have the capacity to handle this kind of credit cards, and the entire infrastructure collapsed. And then all the information that he has about the credit cards and about the people that he stole money from are not longer used, because he has a lot of information that he doesn't know which information is correct and which information is incorrect.
Right. That's brilliant. And there's also a poetic justice here that they wanted credit cards, they got credit cards. Beware of what they wish for.
Yeah.
Wow, that's truly remarkable. And did you mention earlier on, I think you mentioned that there are state attackers that use ransomware attacks. Is that so? And if so, what's their motivation? I assume it's not money. So they're trying to shut down rivals if a state is using that kind of technique?
Yeah, so we see it a lot of times when like Iran and other state-sponsored cyber groups, they love to use some other infrastructure and some other ransomware groups. It's called sometimes ransomware as a service, when you can be a partner of this group and do some ransomware by their side. So the state-sponsored cyber groups really love these types of activity because it enables them to, first of all, stay under the radar, not relate the activity and these operations to a specific actor or specific country.
Yep.
So this is a very highly important. And, they use it, of course, for a strategic impact. When they want to do a strategic or even tactical impact, but they don't want any clue for their interest.
Yep.
So of course this is what we do. They of course partner with a specific ransomware. Usually they take like the big one. We have a lot of financial motivation groups like Killing and Logbit.
Are these Iranians or not necessarily?
No, they are financial motivation cyber groups. They do a lot of cyber attack.
And they work with anybody.
They don't work with anybody, and even more than that, they don't want to work for a specific country or relate themselves to terror or something like that, because it can, they can receive a lot of sanctions because of it. So and this, and it's important to say, this cyber actors, these cyber groups are very highly sophisticated and very highly technical, and they achieve a lot of results. Like a week ago, we encountered a new ransomware group called The Gentleman that for the first time attack Israeli companies. So they use a 0 day. Okay, they use a 0 day in a specific
What
network
does that mean
device.
for those who don't know?
Yeah, a 0 day, it's a vulnerability that only you know about it, and you can use to exploit a device or an application in order to execute. Usually it's for executing code.
Okay.
And you know, when you have this kind of remote code execution, a 0 day on a specific device, it can be mobile, it can be a laptop, or it can be a network device like a firewall or VPN, you can reach anybody.
Right.
Because we are all interconnected and we are all accessible.
Right.
So with this kind of 0 day, you have like a very nation state power that you can execute it and then reach like any device that you wish.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's very, very powerful. And this 0 days, they use these 0 days, of course, to compromise the networks of Israeli companies, and you have to handle it. And you know the companies in general, large companies, corporations, etc. It's very difficult for them to understand that a financial motivational group, not a nation state actor, has this type of capabilities. Right. And we believe that this type of powerful functionality and powerful capability that they have, a lot of it is because of the AI capabilities that we, of course, witness. And they use this type of automation, of cognitive automation, and intelligence decisions in order to, of course, find new 0 day, new vulnerabilities, implement them, and attack innocent people.
So the AI is enabling these non-state actors to develop, if I understand correctly, pretty much state-like capabilities. Is it writing the code for them as well? Is it doing, all of the heavy lifting, and that enables them to reach these pretty disturbing capabilities? Is AI doing all of this for them?
Yeah. So AI is an accelerator in this field, of course, especially in the cyber field. It can do automation of cognitive work, not only repetitive or physical task. Or it can also like analyze documents and writing code, etc., etc. Of course, also intelligence decision, like analyzing a big amount of data and documents in order to get a decision done. And, cyber groups are very like to utilize this powerful amplifier in order to find new discoveries and accelerate their innovation capabilities, especially for vulnerabilities and exploitations.
Right.
And of course, we already witness a very special type of attack. It happened by a state sponsor linked to China that utilized a Claude model of Anthropic company.
Wow.
Okay,
so break that down a little bit.
I will start to break it down. So what they used, they said, okay, Claude, I need Claude because Claude is very advanced AI model, and I want to use Claude because it has a lot of capabilities. So what they did, they asked from Claude, can you do like not only like help me with decision, I want you to do like specific cyber activities and specific cyber tasks.
Right.
So they start to ask from him, and of course, Claude with its guardrails, said, no, I can do it.
Right.
But they found a new way to utilize Claude in order to start using him for this cyber activity. And not only like specific task or specific tool, but the entire cyber kill chain stages. Wow. Okay, so if before that you have to get a very senior security expert in order to do these types of attacks.
Yeah.
Now you can use the AI models to do it. And not only one stage. You can do the entire cyber kill chain stages. It can start from the reconnaissance that you do, the weaponization, writing code and exploitation, and of course, till scanning, and of course, delivery of this exploitation, CNC, command, execution.
CNC is?
CNC is it's command and control.
Right.
Yeah, it's the command and control server that helps.
What they call in the military the C2.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
C2.
yeah.
Exactly. So this is a very sophisticated campaign that.
It's actually quite terrifying what you're describing. I mean, it sounds like a real leap.
Yeah.
I imagine that the defenders, the people on your side, are also using AI.
Of course.
How has AI boosted your capabilities?
Yeah, so AI not only accelerate the attacks, but also it helps scale the defense. So when we use attacks, it can help you, of course, analyze a lot of intelligence and help you with specific decision that you need to make in order to identify new attacks or new techniques inside your networks. And of course, you can assemble the entire defense capabilities, identify, prevent, and response in order for the AI model to help you with it.
Right,
So if before you have to do you have to take like several teams, like you have to take the NOC and the SOC, and then the forensic teams and the TRIAD team in order to start do something in response to an activity or understand what exactly happened to you. Now you can use the AI model to analyze it in scale and, of course, very, very fast in order to prevent, detect, and, of course, recover from such incidents.
Right. Does that include real-time detection? Can the AI system be finding out just as it happens that, hey, you're being breached right now?
Yeah. So what we witness is that this AI model start to receive this kind of permissions, and it starts with the prevention and, of course, detection of this kind of threats. But of course, when they have more permission, they even can they can even stop the attack and, of course, respond to it very, very quickly. But of course, when you give the AI model this kind of permission, you also need to take care of it. And yeah, you know that it's not going to turn the table over your...
But you are describing a situation where both the attackers and the defenders are letting their best AIs at each other, which is happening in every field, basically. But I would imagine in your field, probably the most. Mm-hmm. So just before we shift a little bit, because I want to hear a little bit about also your history and how you founded this company and your military experience as well. But before we get to all of that, we were talking about the different kinds of attacks, and you described in incredible detail the stealing of information, the encryption, the state actors, the non-state actors. What's the next step up from the kinds of threats we've been describing? We heard in the Israeli media a lot about Iranian attempts to cause physical harm to national infrastructure. And even before the war with Iran in June, there was a report, which of course you're familiar with, about the Iranian attempt to release chlorine into the drinking water of Israelis. Mm-hmm. That attack was stopped and no chlorine was released. But that's an example, I think, of probably the most severe kind of attack, which has sort of real-world physical consequences. What can you share with our viewers about that kind of threat?
Yeah. So Iran is using cyber for different kinds of activities, of course, a strategic impact, and of course for cyber terror also. They didn't stop to attack Israel, not before the war, during the war, or even after. There is no ceasefire, especially in the cyber, and we identify and observed Iran activities and Iran cyber groups all the time. Mm-hmm. They start from attacking like individuals, and of course after that they successfully a lot of times breach companies, and it's not like one company in specific sectors. They know how to reach and breach a lot of several sectors, including defense sectors, including recruit sectors, manufacturing, medical. So they have very, very high cyber capabilities, and we even see a great jump in their capabilities in the recent 2 years. They have very sophisticated code and very sophisticated and complex tools that they use. And of course, even with the new techniques, not only phishing, but also utilizing 0 days and 1 days in order to exploit and compromise networks and environments.
Right. So they're boosting their capabilities, their attack capabilities. They're trying to harm strategic sites in Israel. How do you assess Israel's defenses as they stand today? Is Israel a step ahead in this arms race? Does it have to catch up? How do you view the national Israeli situation?
Yeah, so Israel, we are the startup nation, so we have a lot of cyber capabilities. It's including our cyber services, including cyber products in the cloud, on-prem, hybrid, etc., etc. So, of course, we have a lot of our defense is very, very strong, but of course, in this cyber game, you always have to be one step ahead of the attackers. And we can see that not all the times it happens, because sometimes even Iran are using some other high-end sophisticated tools. Sometimes they even get help from Russia and China.
Oh, that was my next question.
Yes.
Wow. Okay,
yes.
so they are coordinating.
Yeah, they are coordinating between them. And we see that this kind of jump and this kind of leverage in their capabilities are very related to this partnership.
So that's pretty disturbing, but I'm reassured by what you said about Israel's defenses, and we are the startup nation, so we would hope that we remain a step ahead of the adversary. But it sounds like we should not be trivializing their capabilities at all, especially if they're cooperating with Russia and China, who have significant cyber capabilities on their own. I would assume that the United States is also cooperating with Israel because a lot of these threats are shared. By the way, I'll just inject into this moment of the conversation that yesterday the Shin Bet intelligence agency released a statement to the media saying that it uncovered a really large, focused Iranian attempt to hack into many Israelis' phones, Gmail accounts, former defense officials, current, academia, media, etc. I myself have gotten some extremely suspicious messages in recent days. So at the end of the day, this is definitely something that I think we can all feel. And do you think that the civilian, the private individual, not the big company, not the state, but the private individual, do they need to take any steps to boost their security? What would your advice be to anybody sitting and watching this from anywhere in the world, whether in the United States or in Israel or anywhere in the West or in India? Do they need to do anything that they're not doing now, do you think?
Yeah, of course. So the cyber world is like a jungle, because there are a lot of attacks and a lot of players, and there are no rules, no regulation, and no working hours. And it's very, very difficult to identify the individual or company or the cyber group behind it. So in this very complex environment, everyone is targeted. And especially in the modern world right now, is that we are all connected. We are all interconnected together. It can be by mobile, it can be by our device like laptop, or even by our vehicle. Right. So everything is connected, and everyone is a target. And they are not a target because they are highly important. They are a target because they are very, very accessible. And when you are very, very accessible, and especially in this new times, with the AI capabilities flooded into the cybersecurity world, everything is more easy. So you can scale, you can do things more fast, and of course it costs lower,
right,
to do this kind of attack. So if before you have to take big teams of cybersecurity experts with master degrees, etc., now you can take 1 or 2 people with a AI model that is very, very advanced and use it in order to do large-scale attacks. And we also see Iran using AI capabilities in order to analyze the intelligence they gather from all the compromise and all the information that they can, of course, leak and analyze it, and of course use it in order to bring intelligence and of course target specific people with this new information.
Right. So they gather information, they hack people, and then they use that information to produce more targets and to produce general intelligence. I assume that they're looking for lots of things like, what the Israeli defense establishment is up to, what they can attack, what they can disrupt. So it sounds like a cyclical process here.
Exactly. And more than that, we even heard several weeks ago, the attack on public figures and the officials like Bennett and Braverman, right?
Right.
They cyber groups linked to Iran allegedly attack their mobile phones and succeed to leak information of their contacts and of course more documents inside their phone, etc., etc. So you can understand that Iran is looking for like a great impact. Some of it can be by using this kind of exploit on public figures, but some of it, of course, to spread fear.
Right.
To spread this cyber terror and psychological warfare into each one of us because they want to interfere the national stability.
Sure.
They want to disrupt the economic resilience and, of course, the public trust of Israel.
Right, and the trust of people in their own institutions, right? Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. And I'm not going to ask you about this, but I will just say that I hope that Israel's national offensive capabilities are so far ahead that there's a reason that we're not even hearing about it most of the time because they're so effective. But we're going to leave that in the classified sphere. Let me ask you about your personal story. How did you get into this world? You served in a very interesting unit in the IDF. Maybe we can start with that.
Yeah, so I started my journey and my career in the military in a very special and elite unit called the Mamram. It's the first computers unit in the IDF. And of course, I did several roles, cyber roles over there, attack and defense. Mm-hmm. And during my military service, also graduated from my bachelor and master degree in information system engineering, specialized in the cyber field. So after that, of course, did a couple of roles and founded the company, Site. I'm the founder and CEO of Site.
What year did you found the company?
In 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cyber services company specialized in attack and defense in the cyber field. We work across several sectors, critical sectors, including energy and gas, manufacturing, medical, banking, finance, etc. And we bring and provide end-to-end solution and services to the private companies. And one of our competitive advantages is that we bring dissemination capabilities into the private sectors and private companies.
Right. So what does that mean, dissemination capabilities, for the viewers who are not versed in the technicalities?
Yeah, of course. So we bring very sophisticated techniques in order to identify nation-state campaigns inside your network. This is from the defense and, of course, disrupt it and remove it from your network. And, of course, also attack techniques in order to show you what a real attacker can do.
Is that what's called red teaming?
It's called the red teaming, and it's called a penetration test. When we receive an approval from a client, and then he say, yeah, you can start attack me. And like a red teamer, you start with nothing, only the domain name and the name of the company that you need to attack. And you need to show and achieve a lot of objectives, like compromise the entire network, like starting from a new device inside the network, and of course compromising the entire domain, control the entire servers, etc., etc.
How do they respond when you basically penetrate their entire system? They must be pretty surprised some of the time.
Yeah, they are always surprised because every time we successfully do it, because every time we love to think about new techniques and new methods in order to bring new results to our clients, and we don't stop till we receive and achieve like unprecedented result to our clients.
Right. So I can only imagine, especially those, if they've invested in cyber defenses already, to have you go into their system, there must be a real a wake-up call. But it's great that they're inviting you to do that, because what better way, right, is there for them to understand their vulnerability than to see it firsthand? When you talk about your IDF service and then founding the company, there's a certain stage that we haven't talked about yet, and that's you winning the Israel Prize, which is an extremely prestigious prize. Tell us from what you can talk about, of course, and we have to assume that you can't talk about everything. What was the prize for? When did you win it? And anything that you can share with us about that phase.
Of course. So, of course, it's very classified, but what I can say is that my team and I develop a very innovative capability in order to ensure national stability and, of course, economic resilience. We develop to identify nation-state capabilities. And, of course, every time to defend the country is something that enlights my passion in the cyber field. And I, of course, love to do it not only in my service, but also when I stop the service, even right now. We love to help Israeli companies and, of course, reveal and discover them the weaknesses that they need to remediate and mitigate. And we want to make sure that our economy and our private sector is really protected.
Right. And it's interesting that you're putting the focus on the private sector, because from my understanding, the Shin Bet and the National Cyber Defense Directorate, they're in charge of protecting a lot of the public and strategic institutes, the ports and the airport and the seaports, et cetera, and of course, the energy sites. But there seems to be a real vulnerability, which is the private sector, which of course is its own strategic target list. So it sounds like you have played a strategic role in boosting defenses there. In terms of your clientele, are most of them from abroad, and a minority are Israeli companies?
Yeah, so most of our clients are abroad, and some of them are Israeli, of course.
Now, in terms of the international market, do you think that the fact that you come from where you come from, the experience that you've gathered, that must give you a real edge in the market? Are international companies looking to you to learn these lessons themselves? Because there are not many countries that have the threat levels that we have. There are not that many individuals and companies, I think, that have the experience that you guys have. So how does that play out in terms of your ability to attract attention on the international markets?
Yeah, you can see clearly that, because the world knows that we are the nation state, we are the startup nation, and they know what are the capabilities in the cyber field of the Israeli. So you can see a lot of companies worldwide, and of course focused in Europe, and of course even America, Latin America, etc. They want this partnership, and they want this relationship with us because they know that Israel cyber companies can bring them very high results and very great insights about their environment and about their networks that maybe local cyber company couldn't do it.
Right. That's what I imagined was the case. Now, look, we've only got a few minutes left. Let me ask you, Shay, what's the next big thing in the cyber world? Where is this heading? Is there going to be some sort of ace in the cards that we're not seeing? Is there some sort of black swan moment that we need to prepare for? Because a lot of the scenarios that we hear so far have been about partial damage to a country. But do you think that there's a realistic scenario where we could have a total shutdown of a country's digital and electrical systems? I mean, what should we be really preparing for when it comes to the future?
Yeah, so in the cyber is a very innovative field, and I believe in 2026 there are top trends in the cybersecurity that we will see like the headlines. First of all, it's the AI capabilities and the arming race in this, we of course flooded with the cybersecurity. Companies and of course cyber groups will utilize these AI models in order to do the entire cyber kill chain, the entire stages of the attack using this kind of models.
Right.
This is the most trended one that we will see in 2026. And more than that, we believe that the supply chain attacks will be even more greater, because we already saw a couple of supply chain attacks. Like it starts with the SolarWinds,
With the
SolarWinds.
Oh, the
It's
SolarWinds, right,
SolarWinds, a
yep.
breach, yeah. SolarWinds, it's an American company that got breached in 2020, and this was a really sophisticated and notorious campaign, allegedly by Russia.
Right.
Yeah, that successfully compromised not only SolarWinds environment network, but also the SolarWinds product.
Right.
And with this product, they insert a backdoor into this product and successfully spread this backdoor to more than 80,000 clients worldwide. Okay, so this
Sounds
is
like a nightmare scenario.
This is a nightmare scenario, and one of the companies that handled this incident was Microsoft, and this is the exactly sentence they said it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because every victim and every infected machine looks different.
Right.
So it's a really nightmare. This supply chain attack is very, very sophisticated. And more than that, like last year, we saw the Shahulud supply chain attack, very, very beautiful attack that successfully spread via malicious packages inside code and successfully spread its code to other GitHub repositories.
It was called Shahulud?
Shahulud.
That's the character in the Dune movie.
Exactly.
That's the name of the worm.
Exactly, the worm. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was behind that attack?
So
do they know?
it's financial motivation groups. It was really really beautiful attack that it a lot of companies, and of course like it's injected into your code and leaking your keys and tokens.
Wow.
So it's very,
Just
very
keeps getting
powerful.
more and more, and that's obviously powered by AI, right? AI has to.
Yeah. We believe that AI probably thought about it and helped them to achieve their objectives. So this is the second trend that we believe is going to hit the headlines. And of course, the third one is ransomware, and especially ransomware as a service with a new levers in these sectors. It's we see that the ransomware successfully not only compromise the companies, but also because the companies don't want their information get leaked and they don't want to be encrypted. So a lot of time, these companies pay the ransomware to these groups, and they get a lot of big money because of it.
And they use that money to build more capabilities, right?
Exactly. And it's not, as I mentioned before, it's not like 5 figures. It's more than that. And if we are looking at the cyber economy or about the cybercrime economy in 2025, it was the third economy in the world after United States and China.
Unreal.
And we believe that in 2026 it will be even greater than United States and China economy.
It'll be the biggest in the world.
Biggest in the world, and this is really, really devastating.
I mean, that creates an endless incentive to attract all kinds of skilled criminals and some of them willing to work with state backers. So that really ties everything together.
Yeah.
We've got time for one more question, and this is something that interests me as somebody who deals with militaries a lot. How protected are militaries from cyber attacks? Because every time I hear about a new command and control digital system that the IDF unleashes a new version, of course, the first question that I hear back from people when I talk about this is, what's stopping the enemy from hacking this? Mm-hmm. How ready are militaries for the cyber threat?
Yeah, so First, we need to say that the military has its defenses and high capabilities, usually a lot more than the civilians.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course they have also the tools and systems, and of course they absorb even more capabilities from the private sectors.
Right.
But even that with these facts, we know, and even though that everyone thinks that they have like offline networks and nobody can reach them,
Yeah.
there is not such a thing or an offline network. Okay, everything is connected. In the
Right.
meanwhile, it can be an offline process, but something will income and something will go out, and in the end, every network is connected. And of course, even though the military has very high capabilities and of course the most expert people, they are not, it's not a silver bullet, of course, and they
Right.
receive and need to handle with a lot of cyber breaches and a lot of cyber attacks. Of course,
Sure. They're not immune because, one of the things that pops into my head is, we hear often after October 7th, the concept or the misconception, which is, falling in love with the idea that everything is under control. And I guess one of the, nightmare scenarios, we went from civilian to military, would be an enemy that could take over military capabilities. Maybe this sounds crazy, but firing a country's own missiles at its own targets, even things as extreme as that. Maybe they have to think about the worst possible case. So
we have to think about this because
Right.
it's not a dream, it's possible. And even more than that, when we stop and prevent Iranian cyber groups and even North Korea and other cyber groups from compromising network, we see their intent to enter the offline networks and
Right.
the classified information. They know that is there and they always try to do it. And one of the most devastating things that can happen, of course, is something like that,
Right.
the military breaches inside their networks. It can be really devastating. And of course, we need to be prepared because we don't want this kind of attack like October 7 in our digital and military environments.
100%. Shay Nachum, thank you so much for joining me. This has been fascinating, eye-opening, disturbing, but also I also am reassured because when I hear about the levels of defenses that you speak about, I also find that very reassuring. So thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Hope so.
Great.
Thank you.